Hello everyone, and happy 2020! Welcome to this Guild Wars 2 video where I'll be counting down 5 of my top Guild Wars 2 personal story bosses, and give a little bit of review and talk about them. And of course, disclaimer, spoilers ahead if you haven't played any of these bosses, because, spoiler alert, they all kind of die. So, let's get started, starting with number 5. Coming in at number 5, we have Kralkatorrik / Kralkatorrik's Torment. Following the lengthy story arc of Living World Season 4, the entire stage was set to finally kill the Elder Dragon Kralkatorrik. What more could be asked to create a magnificent final boss fight? Well, sadly this fight and its overall execution relies heavily on cinematics rather than the actual gameplay. The whole experience tends to fall a little flat. The highest points of this whole fight lies in the dialogue between Orine and her grandfather Kralkatorrik. Their interactions have always been that of a feud, so the shift in relations during the fight exemplify character growth and reveal the true intentions of the mysterious Elder Dragon. Overall, this fight is a spectacle in terms of the actual boss mob size, but it's pretty much a breeze when it comes to gameplay. All in all, it's number 5, due to its overall lore impact and its importance within the story. We're finally killing Kralkatorrik, and overall the area at which you fight Kralkatorrik in, it's not too bad. It's quite interesting, because he's swallowed up all the mist, you're just in his expansive body. But yes, sadly I'd have to place him at number 5, considering it was slightly lower. It wasn't necessarily we were fighting the actual body of Kralkatorrik, it was more so just his torment. Coming in at number 4, we have Balthazar. The Path of Fire expansion followed the elusive god of fire, setting his tyrannical reign throughout the Crystal Desert. He seemed to be uncatchable, but his influence was seen around every corner you turned. With the commander having multiple encounters with Balthazar in previous story chapters, the final fight was one that had to impress. To be honest, it was just okay. The fight itself is completely overtaken by a new weapon kit which is given at the very start of the chapter. The commander is made to use Rytlock's sword Sohathin. Now, one can choose not to use this, but the fact the whole fight was designed with this mechanic in mind docks some points off of this for me. In addition to the actual fight against Balthazar, the most engaging and impressive portion of the fight is in the moment before you take Sohathin to the fire god, the fight against Balthazar's war beast. Overall, this fight is a fairly mute end to an overall amazing expansion, with moments of sparkly, fiery joy. Now this might be a little bit more contentious and or up to debate, but Balthazar's fight was kind of lackluster for me. It was definitely fun considering all the hype leading up to Path of Fire and the story experience throughout, but fighting Balthazar in the end was kind of meh. I would have much preferred something more engaging with your own personal skills, and needing to go in with a group of people similar to that of Heart of Thorns. Now the arena set when fighting Balthazar is actually quite impressive, especially with an Elder Dragon Kralkatorrik in the background, throwing in his 2 cents every once in a while. But overall, I was slightly disappointed with the Balthazar fight in retrospect. And that was number 4. Moving on to number 3. Number 3, we have the Fraenir. The Icebrood Saga is ArenaNet's newest implementation to the Living World format, and has already proven to introduce some major story beats that seem to boggle the mind. With Episode 1, the final boss fight culminates with an encounter against Jormag's Fraenir, who has completely decimated the Raven Sanctum. In brief, this fight is quite effective while having a modest level of difficulty. The sheer number of NPC allies makes this fight not necessarily dangerous to your own health, but the dodging, activation, and finding of the Fraenir keeps the players on their toes. Once the Fraenir is defeated, the players are treated to a magnificent cutscene unveiling the thoughts of a slumbering Jormag. All in all, the quality of this fight is quite promising for the trajectory of Icebrood Saga. We are only one episode in, but the Fraenir fight definitely got me interested to see what else they could do with boss mechanics. Episode 1, it came out with a pretty, I'd say unique and kind of bold boss fight right off the bat. I don't often remember many interesting boss fights at the start of a season, or now in this case a saga, other than fighting Timey for Living World Season 4. That was one of the other memorable ones. But I will have to say that the Fraenir's a fun fight, and definitely constructs a good theme for the Icebird saga. So this is number 1. Now we are moving our way to the top 2, and the top 2 are much more close to my heart, and I have much higher regards for these 2 fights. Number 2, we have the surprising Lord Codicus. Living World Season 3, the head of the snake held a surprising gem of a fight which I and many others did not see coming. This episode follows the arc of the humans and their fight against the White Mantle and their subsequent leader, Lord Codicus. This fight's 2 phases show the extent of how much ArenaNet can put into a story mode fight, including a flare of difficulty depending on what build you are running. The first portion of this fight has the player dodging Mesmer AoEs and breaking the CC bar of a crazed Lord Codicus, then transitions through story exposition to the second phase, where players must fight a Bloodstone Zerking Lord Codicus, dealing stronger attacks and a flurry of minions. Overall, this fight was a pleasant surprise from a story chapter that did not seem to be anything out of the ordinary, nor seemed to be spectacular, other than the initial story instance. The Lord Codicus fight, I remember just being very much surprised and very caught off guard in terms of how much damage Lord Codicus does, and the actual mechanics that I would have to figure out and approach. It's the AoEs in the first half always got me. The chandelier was a fun mechanic, and then moving into his inner sanctum, and then doing the riddles, and then finally fighting him with having to deal with the other White Mantle minions, the Bloodstone minions, throwing the shards at him, dodging the AoEs on the ground in that small little area. Overall, it was a really difficult fight, which made me really enjoy the content that they can put into a story chapter, and also was surprised at the type of content that they can put in. And I would love to see more of this type of fight going forward in the Icebird saga, to see even more difficult fights and more elaborate fights. But Lord Codicus, you deserved it at spot number 2. Moving on to spot number 1. Please bring in the fanfare. Coming in at number 1, we have the final fight from Guild Wars 2's very first expansion, Heart of Thorns. The expansion revolves around the expansion's main villain, Mordremoth, as this Elder Dragon reclaims Sylvari as their own minions. This fight is an entire visual explosion of beauty and uneasiness. The color scheme of the atmosphere and the creepy plant life spiraling around the arena make for a perfect stage. The story fights just before fighting Mordremoth's avatar are also treats during the fight. During the actual fight against Mordremoth, the phases of fighting your friends and having to close rifts to convert the illusions to your side is thrilling and panic-inducing. The phase of needing to get to cover or take to the air also presents a nice selection within the fight, allowing a new player to take the easy way out, or for a more experienced player to tackle the skies. The music also is a beautiful element which accents the fight perfectly. All in all, Guild Wars 2's first expansion ended with a beautifully crafted fight, which also concluded in a satisfying death blow. Also, bonus points to ArenaNet specifically for this fight, as they gave players the option of going in together and activating a challenge mode, where the entire fight is just 100 times more engaging and challenging. So this is my personal favorite fight, and I always remember just hitting my head against the monitor partially because it was hard, but also partially because it was hella bugged. But this fight still holds up in my book, and especially if you want to go in with friends, activate that challenge mode and have a fun time. Overall aesthetically pleasing, visually pleasing, nostalgia inducing, and overall really stellar craftsmanship of a fight. So this was Mordremoth. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video of my top 5 personal story boss encounters. I'd love to hear your favorites down below, so don't be afraid to comment and like and share and subscribe for more Guild Wars 2 content going forward, and I will see you guys over in the next video. Take care everyone.